Hello again. This is November the 30th. It's been, was 2 weeks yesterday since I had my surgery, and still slowly recovering. I mean, the pain is certainly lessening, and I feel optimistic that by the time everything is said and done, it'll all be well. The incision itself is well healed. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the pain basically resides under my arm and sort of in my armpit and along that left side. I mean, right down to, you know, sort of the, not quite the waist, but, and the incision is, anyway, I do have some good news. I mean, I was a little hesitant about maybe sharing this with you. Maybe I'm being a little bit too premature, but the pathology report showed up in what you can access is eHealth. You can create an account under your name and your hospitalization card and all that kind of stuff, and you can access your reports. So the pathology report from the mastectomy showed up on Monday, and I looked at it yesterday. I wasn't sure. I just went out of curiosity to see whether or not that it had been posted already, and it was. And the news that I think that is just absolutely phenomenal and makes me very optimistic about going forward is that all 3 lymph nodes that they took out were benign. There was no cancer there. So that tells us, at least, we can be assured that it hasn't spread, so that the cancer was contained within that area. So seeing my doctor on December the 12th, Dr. Ahmed at the cancer clinic, what that will translate into, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm hoping it will mean that we won't have to do chemo. And that would be an absolute miracle, in my opinion. You know, we could certainly look at it as, wow, this worked out. But I don't want to get too optimistic about that, but I'm going to ask what the risk ratio would be to do nothing, no further treatment, as opposed to going, and what their concern is at this stage of the game, because it said all surrounding tissue, surface tissue, I think it said, was benign, which means that it hadn't burrowed its way into the entire breast yet, so it had just stayed in that area. And so I'm, like I say, I'm hoping I'm not being totally premature with saying that everything is good, because it may still not be totally, but you know, treatment we'll see what they say when I talk to them. But the thing that I kind of is a little bit disturbing in my point of view is that I was told that the results wouldn't be back for a month. Well, that's when they would choose to tell me, type of thing. It doesn't mean that the reports aren't back before that. So this is actually 2 weeks after the surgery. The results are there. So if I was just waiting at home and didn't know this and didn't have access to it, then I would have had to wait till December the 12th to be told that the lymph nodes are clear. You know, this is the situation with the rest of the tissue samples that they tested. And so I think, well, okay, the news for me overall seems amazing, but what about all those people that sit at home worrying about whether it is cancer or, you know, where this disease will take them? I mean, I'm just like, surely you could have a method of getting that information out sooner than a month, when in essence, now there again, the lab is can be busy, overly busy sometimes with specimens, and that it may take that amount of time. I don't know. But it obviously, they got mine done in 2 weeks. So, and I'm sure I'm not exceptional in the lab's mind that they would have said, oh, we've got to give that priority. I'm sure it isn't. So, you know, that, but I think sometimes people, I mean, if it's bad news, I'm the type of person I'd rather know than have to think about whether it is or not. And so, but overall, I'm a lot more optimistic about my future. Does that mean I'll live forever? No, and thankfully that's so. And so, but at this stage of the game, it looks pretty favorable, at least one aspect of it. So we'll see what they say down the road, and we'll check back with you. Now I want to just warn people, I made decisions for myself, what I thought was in my best interest. So refusing chemotherapy to start with and just going straight to the mastectomy, I'm not telling anybody that that's what they should do. You need to look at what they're advising for you and decide for yourself what you think is best for you. So I'm not here advocating for any particular treatment in regard to this type of the disease. So just be aware, this is what I chose to do for myself and myself only. You have to decide for yourself where you want, what choices you want to make. And it'll be the same thing when it comes to, okay, will they recommend chemotherapy? And like I say, I will ask what the risk factors are for doing nothing, and if I think they're reasonable, then that likely could be the route that I will go. I'm not saying that at this moment, but I just wanted, people to be aware. You have to determine what is best for you. And for people who are younger and could in essence have a much longer life to live than with that disease than I do, that's a totally different thing. I mean, I'm not making decisions or telling people that they should refuse treatment. I just found that certain things I just didn't want to go through. But could it have worked out the other way? Absolutely it could have. I mean, that was a choice and a risk that I took, and felt that was the best for me. Did I want all those drugs? No, I just still don't want all those drugs. I mean, some of those side effects are just absolutely insane. And you think, well, okay, you're looking at percentages. What are the percentages that you will be affected by that? Well, I mean, it's like same thing when I was told that, if we do the chemotherapy, then the mastectomy, and then more chemotherapy, 90% cure rate. Okay, that's all good and well. Sounds very good. But at some point in time, somebody falls into that 10%. So who are those people that fall into the 10%? And so at this stage of the game, I feel like going forward, thank everybody for keeping me in their thoughts. And I know a lot of people were praying for me, and I thank you for that. I'm sure something has to have an impact at some point in time. And I'm grateful for all the things that people have come up to me and said, as soon as we heard, we had you. And so I'm glad you had me, but you know what? God has me also. So he's the one who's in charge. So we'll go forward thinking, well, maybe he doesn't want me to check out just yet, and we'll go from there. And hopefully when I get the results back, it'll be even more good news. And if it means the chemotherapy, I'll consider it and make a decision from that. And so we'll talk to you again.